Hey there, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we have a 2022 NFL Breakout Player list. Now, this is a collective list here that I've put together of guys that very well could take the next step heading into next season. There's a lot of really exciting, fresh talent coming into the league from the rookies. There's a couple of sophomores that I like going into next year, and then other players that opportunities have shifted due to current conditions of said roster. So jumping into it here, my very first player is Travis Etienne. Now, this is a sophomore running back that, plays in a Jacksonville situation where there will be no James Robinson. He's playing alongside of Trevor Lawrence. Doug Peterson has stepped in as the head coach. So I have a lot of reason, I think, for optimism. Considering the last time we had seen Etienne play, he was an absolute stud at Clemson. This is a guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield effectively. He's a really good runner, breaks a ton of tackles. And we've seen at Clemson, he was a tried and true product. This is a guy that really elevated his offense with his versatility as a running back and also the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. He's the total package at that running back position. Now, I know a lot of people were clowning Jacksonville for taking him 25th overall, considering they had James Robinson on the roster. Now with James Robinson, being out basically for the entire season, this opens up the door for Travis Etienne. And this is going to be a huge role in this offense. I think they're going to use him in a variety of ways. He's already talked about how he hopes to have a Deebo Samuel-like role on Jacksonville. And I think this is very realistic. Doug Peterson is a creative play caller, and he's going to line him up in multiple spots. He is going to get get this guy the football. I think that when you look at the entire body of work of Doug Peterson's career, I think this is a good opportunity for him to expand on that a little bit and really get a dynamic running back involved. And, this Jacksonville team, granted, they were the worst team last year. I think they definitely made some strides in terms of, spending a lot of money in free agency, and the draft. They did a decent job. So Travis Etienne is a player that I'm watching heading into next season. Following that up, KJ Hamler, the former Penn State product. He's had in his 2 years a little bit of a interesting start. Now, if we look at his first year in the league as a rookie, he had 381 yards collectively. Last year, he ends up getting hurt. So I'm looking at KJ Hamler as a guy that very well could break out because of the quarterback situation. Now, you're going from a guy like Drew Lock to Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is truly one of the best in the game. And I really don't think that's a secret that these receivers should be elevated by the play of Russell Wilson. If we look at, what Russell Wilson had in Seattle, he had DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. And I think when you move on to Denver here, KJ Hamler will have a similar role to what Tyler Lockett had, a guy that can really take the top off of defense. He's an absolute speedster. He's a burner. This is a guy that is a big play waiting to happen. So I think, in my opinion, KJ Hamler is the guy that you do want to watch out for, considering how much of a dynamic playmaker he is, and a guy that can, really create big plays on his own. Having Russell Wilson is going to be huge for them. They're going to be moving the ball more effectively, and Russell Wilson is going to be looking for the big play guy. KJ Hamler is capable of that. They also have guys like Jerry Jeudy on the roster, Cortland Sutton. And I think that collectively here, this is a good unit. I do believe that in the wide receiver room, KJ Hamler will have a big part in this offense for sure. And they're playing in a very tough and competitive AFC West. And I think that they're going to need KJ Hamler to step up big time, and especially in these divisional games. Now, the next player I have is Mecole Hardman. And if we look at Mecole Hardman's career, in the 3 years he's been in the league, he's averaged 500 to 600 yards every single year. And I think this is a huge opportunity for him. I know Kansas City is in a position where they've moved on from Tyreek Hill. And if you look at a guy that has a somewhat similar, style to Tyreek Hill, that's Mecole Hardman. Now, they thought it was going to be effective having both of them. Mecole Hardman, really didn't take that next step, but I think this is the year potentially where he can do so. Total speedster, they're going to use him very similarly to how they use Tyreek Hill. A lot of sweeps, jet motions. There's so much that you can look at and how to use Mecole Hardman, and you can only do so much with him. When last year and years prior, it was the Tyreek Hill show. You're going to see a lot more volume with Mecole Hardman, and I think this is a guy that is poised to break out in a big way. Considering he's 500 to 600 yards a year, I think he could very well get close to 1,000. With his new role in the offense, Kansas City will be scary regardless. I don't think that's a question. I know a lot of people are afraid that they're going to be way worse without Tyreek Hill, but I think that they're in a good position here still with a guy like Mecole Hardman, who very well could touch that 1,000-yard marker at the end of this season. The next guy is Trevor Lawrence, and Trevor Lawrence last year was awful. 59.6 completion percentage, 3,600 yards, 12 touchdowns, 17 interceptions. Now we have to consider a lot of things when looking at the body of work of Trevor Lawrence. He had potentially the worst receiving core in the league last year in terms of overall performance. Marvin Jones was his number one receiver. Laviska Shenault had a very, very odd year in terms of just dropping the ball so many times. And this receiving core as a whole had the most drops out of anybody in the entire league. So that's something that we do have to keep in mind. A lot of the guys, were dropping the ball and, really shortening up drives. And Trevor Lawrence wasn't able to truly get into a rhythm. And the whole Urban Meyer debacle really set him back, in my opinion. There was so much going on throughout the course of the year, so much drama. A lot of it fell obviously on Urban Meyer, but Trevor Lawrence was taking a ton of the blame as well. Not to say that he's blameless in what happened last year. I'm just saying that this is a really good opportunity under a Super Bowl winning head coach, Doug Peterson, to take his game to the next level. I think you're going to see a lot of RPOs with this offense. Trevor Lawrence is a guy that's going to be able to be successful in an offense like that. It's going to be super conducive for him. And honestly, Trevor Lawrence could make that next big jump. They signed Christian Kirk in the offseason. Marvin Jones will be back. Laviska Shenault. I know that Laviska is much more capable of playing better than last year. Last year was a disaster for him. A lot of drops. It was just not, super fun to watch him. But I think he's going to be much better heading into this year. But Christian Kirk is going to be a receiver that I think hits 1,000 yards, going to be a high volume guy in this offense. He's getting, Travis Etienne in the lineup, which Travis Etienne is going to be awesome for the passing game. And this team is definitely getting better, considering they were the worst team in the league last year. Part of that was coaching. Part of that was just the actual overall talent on the roster assembled by Trent Baalke. And Trent Baalke, once again, I think I don't love what he did in the offseason. However, they spent a lot of money and made some improvements to the roster that were definitely necessary. So we'll have to see. But Trevor Lawrence, from a makeup standpoint, you have to look at him as one of the most promising young quarterbacks in the league. I know a lot of people are down on him right now, but let's think about the polished product that he was coming out of Clemson. And I think that we're going to see some of those glimpses of hope once again in his sophomore campaign. A lot of rookie quarterbacks struggled last year. Trevor Lawrence was the prime example of the, quote, generational quarterback still struggling in the first year in the league. Making adjustments is going to be very, very key, in my opinion, for Trevor. Tony Pollard. Now, this might cause some debate a little bit. Some people are saying that, he already broke out. This guy is definitely a stud. Yes, I acknowledge that. But I think his role is going to continue to increase in this Cowboys offense. Last year, he had 700 yards, and this year very well could see an uptick in overall volume. I think he's going to add even more to the passing game as well. Tony Pollard is a player that is super, super fun to watch. He's explosive. He's a guy that's really good with the ball in his hands. And however you can just get him more volume is going to be crucial for Dallas. Obviously, Ezekiel Elliott is still in the mix, and Ezekiel Elliott is actually relatively young, considering how young he was coming into the league. But Tony Pollard appears to be taking more and more that carry share between the two of them. And I think that's going to be another uptick this year. Tony Pollard is going to be another guy that is going to break out, I think, next season. He played very well last year. And I think this year, once again, he's going to take that next step. And then finally, I have Allen Lazard. Now, this is a player that is going to see a lot more volume. With the departure of Devontae Adams, I think this opens up the door, red zone wise for sure, for Allen Lazard. Already a receiver, huge frame, really good catch radius. And I think in the red zone, you're going to see him targeted a ton. Consider Devontae Adams is gone. Some other guys are going to have to step up on this roster. They've added Sammy Watkins, Christian Watson in the draft. Allen Lazard is the player that already remains on the roster that, has some chemistry with Aaron Rodgers. I think this could be an absolute huge year for him. Just considering opportunity, Devontae Adams was a big part of this roster for the last, or for his entire career. Now Aaron Rodgers is going to have to kind of refocus and redirect some of those targets to the guys that are already remain on the roster and some of the newcomers. But Allen Lazard could be a huge beneficiary of, what this team can be offensively. And I think Aaron Rodgers is going to find him consistently next year. The key for Allen Lazard, once again, is just to stay healthy. Thanks again for watching our video. Hit that subscribe button if you are new. Also, leave a like on today's video if you did enjoy the content. We are going to be posting more and more football content as we get closer to the season, so make sure you are around for that. Thanks for stopping by, and we will catch you in the next video.